For the second week in a row, the Orlando Magic played the New York Knicks and lost more than just a game. We'll go over the 5 key takeaways as well as a deep dive into the box score that'll help us finish telling the story. This is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Magic fans, by a Magic fan. I'm Edwin Valentine, and I want to thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. You got to do the normal YouTube thing, so hit that like, share this video, drop a comment below on what you thought of the semifinal of the NBA Cup and the NBA Cup as a whole. And if you want to do so, hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content that I produce. So let's jump right into the 5 takeaways. So, of course, the biggest takeaway from the game is the Jaylen injury. So just like all us Magic fans, we watch Jaylen play and he's throwing around his body throughout the entire game. And then you can kind of see him at different points in different games, kind of changing his gait and the way he runs. He kind of shuffles like an old man and tries to get back on defense, try to jump over the screens and do all the little tricks that Jaylen does when he's on defense. This one was a little different. Now, Jaylen was our major hub offensively at the beginning of the game for the whole entire first half, scoring 25 points and keeping the Magic in it offensively. And then in the second half, it looked like he ended up taking that knee to the hip, is what it looked like, and he went down and he basically hobbled for the better part of the next 2 minutes. We were trying to get him out of the game. Ultimately, he ended up getting fouled on a 3-point shot, and you could see that his mind wasn't right at that point because he missed 2 out of 3, and so far this year he's been shooting almost 90%. So obviously something was wrong with him at that point, and he went directly into the back. And at that point, we thought maybe it could be his knee again, maybe it was his ankle, maybe it was just a deep bruise into his quad. So we really didn't know what it was going to be. Ultimately, in the end, it ended up being a hip contusion, which for the second week in a row, we get a good MRI result, and it's not something that should be something that will keep him out for months at a time. It's the Magic. They're really careful, especially with Jaylen. I'm sure they're going to be very, very careful with him. So this is an injury that technically he could play in the Denver game, or he could play at some point during this road trip. So I don't know if they've already mentioned if he was going to be making the road trip with the rest of the team or not. But in the end, I think they're probably going to lean to not have him play this road trip, and he'll play the first game back in the Kia Center. So we shall see on there. Now, obviously, there's a whole big thing that happens. We've played a couple games without Jaylen with his with the maintenance to his recovery from his knee injury from last season. So there is a little bit of practice. It's not like when Franz went out that all of a sudden we're like, oh, what are we going to do? So we have a little bit of practice, but we always had Franz there. So luckily we now have Desmond. So Paolo's not the only scoring option we have in the starting lineup. So now we have Desmond Bane, but there's obviously going to be some reshuffling, and there's going to be some refiguring out of what the rotations are going to be. Obviously, this should give more time to Jet. It might give a little bit more time to Tristan at different parts or different points. This might give a bit more time to Jase, which we all hope that Jase is going to get a little bit more time. And if not, the reason I thought maybe Tristan might get a little bit more time is if AB moves back to being a lead guard, then Tristan might be in the starting lineup as well. And we'll go. I'll do another video separate to this one on the different options, and I'll go over all the numbers from cleaning the glass on what are the most efficient lineups that we could possibly throw out there when we're missing both Jaylen and Franz. So that'll be in another video, but obviously the biggest takeaway from this game, other than the loss, is the fact that Jaylen left it injured, and hopefully he's not going to miss too much time. Missing all 4 games of that West Coast trip is going to be really difficult for the Magic. We're going to need as much firepower as possible because we lost to Portland and we lost to Utah last year at their place. And we're going up against Golden State, and Curry has been on fire. So It's going to stink if he's not going to be at all in our next little road trip, but it is what it is. Obviously, we play Denver, so that's going to be a big pain. They're missing a couple starters, so at least it's a little more fair, let's say, in that respect. So we shall see how things go for that. But Jalen's injury is the number one takeaway from this game. Secondly, for me, it was that our offense, we can match up with the Knicks. Each one of the times that we lost, it was pretty close for much of the game. So us not having Franz for the last two games, we won the first two with Franz. The national media seems to forget that the season series is tied. They didn't sweep us, especially without Franz in those last two games. And everybody knows Franz is going to be coming back. So hopefully everybody's healthy. Both teams are healthy for the playoffs, and I want to see what the two teams can do mano a mano with all cylinders go at that point. So anywho, but offensively, even with Franz, we only lost by 6 in that first game. We really didn't score that much. We only scored 100 points at the game in Madison Square Garden, the second game in Madison Square Garden. And then in this one here, it really was mostly the Jaylen show until the second half when Bane and Paolo were able to get going a little bit more. So I think offensively, if we would have had offensively and defensively, because throwing height at Jaylen at Jalen Brunson, especially with Franz, would have been more disruptive than what was happening to him. Brunson is Brunson. He's going to get his, so that's not the biggest thing. We still got to try to make it as difficult as possible, and Franz being there would have done that. And then he's just been the Nick slicer at this point. I don't want to say killer, but basically scoring 32 points a game against them. Now, I don't think OG and Anobi ended up playing either one of those games. So again, it'd be great to see both teams playing at full strength to really see what each one has. So I really hope that we play in the playoffs to see how well we can play. So for me, that was what it was offensively. I think the Magic can definitely score with the Knicks, so that doesn't worry me in a playoff series. Now defensively, which is takeaway number three. Takeaway number three is the defense. Giving up as many points as we did, with them shooting only 23 pointers and only making single digit 3 pointers, was tough to watch. It was very methodical. So you got to give them credit in that respect. They really took the game plan that the Magic had. The Magic were like, you're not going to shoot threes, so you're going to have to dink and dunk basically every little thing in your offensive repertoire. You're going to have to use it, and Brunson's going to have to use his quickness and do all the Brunson things to be able to get all his points. And that's exactly what happened. In the end, Brunson was able to get to most of his spots. AB and Jaylen really weren't able to slow him down in the slightest. Now, Cat ended up playing better in this one. I think it wasn't. I think it was a bit overstated how he played in the end, but fair enough. It is what it is. But I think defensively we are able to, as we've seen in the other games, the Magic are able to stack up well against them. Yes, there were some timely offensive rebounds by Mitchell Robinson, but the Magic are one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the league, and we don't really give up that many offensive rebounds, and we didn't in this one. Like, it felt like a lot, especially because they were hitting almost every one of the shots at the beginning of the game, and then the few that they did miss, Mitchell Robinson ended up getting the offensive rebound. So fair enough. It definitely makes it feel worse. And I think in a playoff series, anytime he'll get that offensive rebound, we'll foul him immediately to put him on the free throw line to make sure that he's gonna to hit his free throws and try to get him out of the game. So we'll see if he's healthy throughout the rest of the year. Hopefully, I hope he is. Like, I really want to play this team straight up so that there's no excuses and we beat them fair and square. But we'll have to do something defensively. And again, that might be Franz on Jaylen a bit more. That'll hopefully be able to disrupt him a little bit more. We'll see. We'll see what we do and what schemes we're able to dial up, because defense is our calling card, and we really can't get carved up like that, especially on a bunch of 2-point shots. They shot 60% overall in this game. They didn't go crazy shooting threes. Again, they only made, I believe, 7 is what it was in the end. So That's something that was a bit disappointing, and especially in a showcase game like that, we really want to put our best foot forward as often as possible, and we put on a good show, especially that first half offensively. Both teams were just going back and forth for the most part. So I think we still, we still did a good job of presenting Orlando Magic basketball, except for the fact that we didn't really hunker down as much defensively, unfortunately. So that's number three. Takeaway number four is even though it feels like he's in slow motion, Paolo is starting to get better. And we saw over the course of that game, he was able to start putting his imprint in that game. And we're definitely going to need that from Paolo with Jaylen likely out, as well as Franz still being a few weeks away from coming back. We're going to need more Paolo. And maybe that'll be a good thing because obviously he saw the way the team was playing while he was out, and I know he's trying to be referential, it feels like, and I've mentioned it in the last video, but Paolo's got to start being Paolo, and if that means that there's going to be more touches for him because Jaylen and Franz are going to be out, so it's going to be the Bane and Paolo show, and maybe they just dueling banjos it, and they go back and forth, and that's what it is that they're able to dueling pianos or dueling banjos or whatever dueling musical instruments you want to say. Hopefully, they're going to be the ones that are really going to take the bulk of the offense. And a couple of years ago, I would say the defining victory of the season 2 seasons ago was that victory in Denver with Franz. I think had rolled his ankle that game or the game before. So it was mostly just Paolo, really, no offense to the rest of the team. But it was really mostly Paolo, and Paolo really balled out in that game. Now, Denver is a little bit better this year than they were there the 2 years ago. So we shall see Denver and all the other teams. Hopefully we can beat Utah with a couple guys out, and hopefully we can compete in the other two games. Portland's not playing as well, but either way, we're going to need Paolo to really step up because that is just what we're going to need from him for the rest of the year. And lastly, just like any time he gets to play, Jase just balls out. Jase does what he's supposed to do. He sits on the bench for most of the game, and then when they call his number, he is ready. The young man, you got to give him credit for that. Like, he is ready to play, and he has no fear. He ends up going into the game, making a positive impact. As pretty much every time he's got on the court, he has. So we'll see again what the lineups are going to be with Jaylen out, but maybe they throw him into the fire like they did with Tristan when Paolo and Franz went out last year, and Tristan had to really be that guy to kind of just step into that role and try to be a facsimile to it. Now, things seemed a little fast for Tristan at times last year because he was a rookie. So we'll see. I don't know if they're willing to throw Jase into the deep end, especially against Denver. Maybe for Utah, but maybe not for Denver. So we'll see what starting lineup we put in. Again, watch out for that video that I'm going to be producing a little later on. But I think Jase should get, and with Jaylen out for a couple games and Tyus playing the way he has been, it really should be time for us to start having Jase being on the court a lot more. So I think that's that's takeaway number 5, and another biggie really to me, the Jaylen, and that him showing that he really is ready, even for spotlight games like that where there's a lot of pressure in a neutral atmosphere. I really think that Jase should be given an opportunity a little bit more to play. So if we look at the box score for this past game. So, Desmond Bane in 37 minutes scored 18 points on 7 of 17. So, maybe if Desmond would have went for 37 again, we might have been able to pull this one out. But we're obviously not going to expect that all the time, even though it has happened pretty frequently recently. 7 of 17 isn't super great, but again, it's not. It wasn't like he was a dog out there or a bum out there not playing well. Like, he played well. It just didn't go down the way it had in the last game in Miami, or versus Miami in Orlando. 2 of 4 from 3-point land. Would love for that to be more shots, just like it was in the Miami game. We'll see if that's something that hopefully continues. The 9 3-point shots that happened previously is really what we should be hoping for from Desmond. But 2 of 4 is what it is. 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, normal Desmond game. Paolo ends up with 25 points in 35 minutes, 10 of 22 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3. So the good shooting that had been there since his return didn't continue in this one. So 0 of 7 from 3 is disappointing. 7 3-point shots from Paolo is the disappointing part. If we could flip him and Desmond's numbers, that would be ideal. But in the end, it is what it is. 5 of 6 from the free throw line is not bad. Paolo is starting to is continuing to hit his free throws, to give him credit. 8 rebounds, again, like tied with AB as the leading rebounder in this game. He's our leading rebounder for the year. 3 assists, 1 steal, 5 turnovers, however, and that right there is really what it is. It just feels like he's a bit slow, and that could just be from him, having some rust still. But it's been a few games at this point, so we really have to start examining whether it's just a processing speed that is just not happening as fast as it could, or he's just not being as decisive. Like when you see Desmond gets blocked a lot. Desmond, of those 17 field goal attempts, he probably got blocked 3 or 4 times. So Desmond gets blocked a lot, but you got to give him credit because he decides he's not going to shoot and he's going to take it to the basket no matter who's in front of him and who's guarding him. I think that's something that hopefully will rub off on Paolo as we go through the rest of the year, because Paolo really is 6'10", 250. Like, he's a big dude, and for whatever reason, 7 3-point shots is not gonna cut it. He has to force the action. He only shot 6 free throws in this one, so make them make the call. Even if it's an offensive foul, make them make the call. 8 rebounds, 3 assists. I already said all of that. So Wendell Carter Jr., 14 points, 6 rebounds in 35 minutes. So Wendell Carter Jr. shot it well, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. That one's a bit disappointing. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals. So Wendell Carter Jr., it always feels like he's getting dominated for some reason whenever he plays the offensive rebound guys. So like the Steven Adams game, and anytime he plays against New York, the Mitchell Robinson, yeah, he just feels like he's getting overpowered, which if you look at the numbers, they're not always necessarily true, but it just feels that way. And we have to get it back on the offensive end, and he did. He scored 14 points, so he still definitely put an impact into this game, but ideally we get a lot more defensive rebounds. This game, they shot so well, we didn't really get that many defensive rebounds, but we got to keep them off the offensive glass as best as possible, especially with some of the teams that we're going to be coming up against. They're those teams that like to attack the offensive rebound. Anthony Black started again, and he was 5 of 15 in 36 minutes, scoring 12 points, 1 of 6 from 3. You got to love the confidence or the aggression. That's what we talked about all year. It's what we talked about in the preseason. Aggression, aggression, aggression. 1 of 6 from 3. His 3-point shot has started to elude him a little bit. So it's good that he has the confidence and the aggression to shoot the 6 3-pointers. Maybe after the first 3 or 4, if it's not falling, take it to the basket. You've been doing a good job of attacking the rim. Even if you're not always finishing, you're allowing your bigs to be able to get the putbacks. So hopefully that's something that he starts to hit. He starts to hit his 3-point shots, especially the open ones in the corner. I'd rather him be in the corner ready to pick and to be able to catch and shoot. Not as many off the dribble. That would be just my preference, but it is what it is. 1 of 3 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds. So another big rebounding game against the Knicks. 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 4 turnovers. Again, that's the big bugaboo for AB. That's why with Jaylen out, I wouldn't necessarily love for AB to be the starting lead guard, let's say, or the one that's handling the ball the most. So if he is, then I still would rather have the ball in Desmond's hands, because even though Desmond at the beginning of the year was turning the ball over a lot, he started to tone that down a bit. He ended up with 7 assists, 3 turnovers in this one for Desmond, as opposed to Anthony or AB's 4 and 4. So we shall see on that. Jaylen in his 29 minutes was 10 of 16 from the field for 26 points, 2 of 8 from 3-point land. So the same thing. Jaylen's 3-point shot has really started to elude him too. So a bunch of the guys that really were doing a good job of picking their spots and shooting not off the dribble necessarily, but in the flow of the offense. A lot of that stuff has started to go away. And so I don't know if that's because with Franz out, everybody has to lock into a different position and a different role that they're taking on a little bit more. Maybe that's what it is. But some of these guys, the shot selection is probably the biggest issue, not necessarily their ability to hit all the shots. It's just the shot selection. Jaylen, a couple of times in the game, will just launch instead of really passing the ball around just to see if anybody could have a better shot. You love the confidence, but we gotta, and I loved getting the shots up. You know me, and if you've been watching the other videos, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite on this. I want us to be shooting more threes. If we can get back to 35 3-pointers a game like we did last year with the 35% that we're shooting right now, I think it's definitely just going to help us with the 3-point math. So 2 of 8, not a great percentage. I do like the 8 shots, but I'd rather them be in the flow of the offense. And also he also shot 4 of 6, but like I said, he missed those 2 free throws when his hip was already killing him. So I don't think he was able to focus for those. 2 rebounds, 7 assists. You got to love it. 7 assists from Jaylen. He's done a pretty good job the last couple of games of that, but no steals, no blocks. So it just shows that he didn't feel like he was able to disrupt Brunson defensively, but he was obviously able to attack him offensively. And next person up was Ji. Ji only played 9 minutes, 2 of 5 from the field, a couple nice one nice dunk on a dive from the corner, and then he hit his other shot, which is a 3-pointer. You gotta love it. It's something that hasn't happened too often this year from Ji. So it was good that he hit that one. So 1 of 2 from the 3-point range for Ji. Ended up with 5 points in total with 4 rebounds and no other stats. So again, if Ji and Tyus, as we'll talk about later on, they're on the court. If they're not contributing in the time that they're on the court, then we need to go somewhere else, especially in a high leverage game like this where you were playing for something. Maybe in a regular season game, fine, but especially when it's time for playoffs or when it's time for games that matter differently because they are for seeding purposes at the end of the year. If Jay doesn't have it that game, isn't being disruptive on defense and not really doing much on offense, you got to pull him and go to another option. So that was that for JI, and that's basically what they did. But does 9 minutes still is a good amount for someone who really wasn't doing too much defensively, which is his calling card. Jet in 14 minutes at 8 points, 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. I think Jet could be able to get a little bit more run in the next couple of games with Jaylen out. Again, if AB starts to go back to being more of a guard and not playing as much small forward, then that might be able to give Jet more of an opportunity, especially if Tristan's going to keep having such difficulties as he had in these past few games. So again, we got to try new things. And if Jet is the answer, Jet has been shooting it well this year, and he's not afraid. He's going to shoot. He's going to get them up. So I think Jet should get a little bit more run as well. So I know it stinks that we're continually have to go deeper into our bench to get some production, but right now that just is the way it is, and we got to get production from somewhere, especially off the bench. Tristan and his almost 12 minutes of action, no points again. Poor Tristan has been just really struggling, unfortunately. 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 4 from three. He ended up with 1 rebound. And that's it. So Tristan struggling right now, and we'll see what the rotation is going to be like with Jaylen out, and if AB is going to end up being shuffled back to guard. We're going to need Tristan to play. Tristan has to play, and if not, then Jet is going to have to get all his minutes. We'll see. Or maybe Noah might get some minutes at small forward as well, because we need to win games. The Eastern Conference is super jumbled up, and we need to win games. And hopefully Tristan is able to snap out of it and not end up in multiple games with 0 points per game. 0 points in the game. Goga 12 minutes, also with 0 points. Only 3 rebounds in total, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. So he did give a little bit of defensive presence while he was in the game, but same thing. If you look at the plus minus, minus 17 for Tristan, minus 15 for Goga. So if Goga's not going to be able to control the glass against Mitchell Robinson, then when we end up playing them in the playoffs, it might just end up being that he might have to be out of the rotation. But we don't have too many other options. Obviously, Mo's going to be there, and Mo's going to give more offensively. So it might just have to be us losing defensively but gaining offensively, and that just will play into the hands of the Knicks. But we shall see. And we'll also see how Mo starts playing when he gets back. So maybe he'll be a rebounding machine. Well, who knows? Tyus, and he ended up playing 9 minutes, same 3 points, 1 of 2 from the field, which is 1 of 2 from three, with just 1 assist and no turnover. So he's a -10 as well. So if you look, a lot of our guys are at minus. We only had a couple guys in positive. We had just Wendell and Jaylen. It was the only ones that were in a positive plus minus. So Tyus, as we see again at the end of the game, since he didn't have much oomph offensively and we needed to get back into the game offensively, they ended up installing Jase. In his 7 minutes, 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 3 from three, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. It would have been ideal because at that point in the game, we were still unlikely to come back, but it still was nice to put pressure, basically like they had done in the Boston game. We're trying to put pressure on them just to see as well. Actually, in the last New York game in Madison Square Garden, they had to put in their starters again because Jase was out there balling. So it would have been great to have that second free throw, but hey, you can't really fault the young guy for much. 1 rebound, 2 assists for his 9 points in his 7 minutes. So instant offense right now, and we need offense from our bench. So if you look at our bench, we had what? We had JI with 5, Jet with 8, 13, 16. So we had 16 points from the other bench players, and Jet had 9 in 7 minutes. So this is something that we definitely need more of. So if Tyus starts for whatever reason and they have Tyus starting, then Jase would be the backup, or AB will play the backup points. Again, I'll do a video on all the different rotations that we could use and the best rotations or the best lineups that we've had so far with a minimum of 10 possessions so far this year. So that was the game. Really, there wasn't too much more to it. I think for me, again, the biggest takeaways were the 5 that I laid out. Really, defensively, it felt like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Jalen Brunson, this little guy, is able to just play amongst the trees and just able to continually be able to make sure that he gets to his spots at all times, and it's just an amazing thing to see. It's amazing. You wonder how exactly is it that he can always get to it, and you can see it's footwork and physicality. Like if let's talk about that a little bit. How everybody complains that we're a dirty team, but in 2 games we have Jaylen going out and we have Franz going out, and I'm not saying anybody was doing it maliciously, but also that Brunson kind of undercut AB on a breakaway dunk attempt. So if that was Brunson and AB was the one to have undercut him and just tap his foot, he really didn't really undercut him, but he still tapped his foot, and Jaylen would have been on the ground. He would have been writhing in pain, like the complainer he is. Like, let's just be real, and the flopper that he is. It is a strategy. I feel it's very unethical, but it is a strategy, and it is what it is. But if AB would have done that, maybe they would have looked at it, and maybe they would have assessed some other thing, a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2 even. Who knows? And we could have got Jalen Brunson kicked out of the game. But for me, I'd rather have the ethical way that AB did. Now, we could have lost us the game, so it is what it is. But that's how I feel on that. So luckily, we don't play New York anymore this year until hopefully in the playoffs. I really would love to see this team in the playoffs, and hopefully both teams are healthy, so we really can have a good battle on our hands. If this game was in Kia, I don't think New York wins, even though, of course, there's a lot of New York fans at the Kia Center. I really think it would have had a different energy about it being in the Kia Center, and I think the Magic could have prevailed, I think they would have prevailed. But it definitely would have been a different feel. And I know that's going to be something that next year they're going to do, have the semifinals in the arena of the higher seed. And we would have had that game. And then we would have seen, because we would have had two games at home versus their two games at home. Then we really would have seen how things would have shaken out. But it wasn't to be. It is what it is. We lost this one to the New York Knicks, and it's now 2-2 in the season series. The good and the bad. The good of this game was the Magic were able to really have a bit more involved in this game, so it felt like it was more important. And obviously, you can see how they played under pressure, especially guys like Jase, AB, that were younger, and we know that they have to start playing in big games for us. So that was a good thing. But the bad thing is we ended up having to see New York, so that we would have won the season series if this game didn't end up happening. But it ended up happening, so that's the bad from it, as well as, of course, Jaylen going down. But for the season series now, we're tied at New York, tied with New York, a head-to-head 2-2. So now we will have to see how the things shake out for the rest of the season. And luckily, at least we're done with them. You would hope we'd be done with Miami. We've seen Miami all the darn time, but we still got a couple more games against Miami. But New York is done. So New York, Boston, and Miami feels like those are the teams we've seen every week, and we're almost done with Boston. We have the last game of the season's against Boston, and we have two more against Miami, but we're done with New York. So good on that. And then so the season series 2-2. Our schedule keeps on plugging away. 4 at the West Coast and against Denver, which is probably the headliner of that one. And we're really going to have to play our best game to beat them. They've won 5 in a row and they've been playing very well. They figured it out without their two starters right now. And of course, they have Jokic. So our guys are going to have to play well. And if they don't, they'll lose. And they just got to stay tough while the reinforcements start coming back. And then the schedule starts to ease up once we turn the calendar to the new year. So we've got a couple days off, and hopefully they're able to rest up. And maybe Jaylen is able to not miss as much time. So at least we've gotten good news on that front. So drop a comment below on what you felt about the game, and should AB have writhed on the floor and pretended like his leg had been cut off by Brunson, or do you like the ethical basketball? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, share, like the video, and if you want to do so, hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content. Thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. I hope you're having a great day.